the psalmist, David. So when you understand that once you start, you see yourself sitting in the God seat in triple darkness in the middle of nowhere, and you recognize and observe that position, you sitting in the center of creation. That's the mindset. You sitting in the center of creation and you creating everything. Okay, now you need to simplify the totality of creation. You got to bring it into your 3D model of yourself. I'm God pretending to be Rod. How am I supposed to behave as God in this 3D realm? This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to rewrite who the system told me to be. I'm not going to be Rod. I'm going to be Morpheus Mysticus Magus. Morpheus Mysticus Magus is our chemical name that was adopted by the character Rod in order to break free from the character Rod and become the embodiment of the liberating mind that I want to be, so that I can help other people liberate their mind. So
Peace, family. What's going on with everybody out there? I'm waiting on Sharif Bey. I told y'all I'm gonna start coming on here because y'all be swearing I'm the one that's late, and I told y'all a lot of times it'd be the presenters. So I said I'm gonna start coming on here just so I won't leave y'all waiting. It's already 9:08. Shout out to everybody. Peace to everybody in the chat. I see some of the regulars. Let me see some of the regulars in the chat. I seen Dave. Shout out to Dave. I see my brother Dave. Indigo Earth Angel 888. All right. I don't recognize some of these names. Is new to me. Fuzzy Love Worms. Are you a new subscriber, Fuzzy Love Worms? I don't remember that name. Shout out to New Diamonds. The Golden Age Piscean 777. All right, Precise Hill. Let's see some of the regulars up in here. But yo, listen, while we wait on Sharif, shout out to Dre, Big Face Hunnits, you know what I mean? You know the vibes. Yo, I got some things I'm gonna implement on this channel. So let me I'm gonna wait to tell you that, but damn, I got a couple of interesting things that I want to implement on the channel besides just traditional interviews. I already talked to y'all about the a couple of them, the book club and stuff like that. That's where everybody get the Big Face Hunters from. But somebody said, Rich, what's up with your Terrence Howard announcement? That's late in the year. That will definitely go. And you know, it's going to be even better now since what happened in the pyramids. I would love to hear what Terrence got to say about that. So when that goes down, and that's going to be me, it's going to be me, Billy, and Terrence. But when that goes down, yeah, last night's show was fire. Yeah, last night's show was definitely fire. Shout out to Tarsili. I almost forgot her name. Shout out to Tarsili. You know, did her thing. I see brother Sharif in the back now. Sharif, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir. What is going on? Welcome back to the platform, my brother.
It was good, brother. It was good, family.
All right.
We've been busy. We've been busy. You've been busy.
Hey, man, it's they say if you're not busy, something wrong.
Come on.
Now, I don't know if that's is that a Western way of thinking? Because shouldn't we just be able to relax, Sharif? Is that a Western way of thinking, brother?
There's a lot of that's Western, yeah, but a lot of it is Western. Not all of it, though. Not all.
Right.
Of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, did you send me the?
Check
okay,
you got it.
All right. While I get this. What is going on? I seen you with the brother Billy the other day. What's going on with you and Billy, Sharif?
We cooked up something marvelous. First of all, salute to you, brother. You know, the brother told me, he said, yo, I was trying to get at you, and you know, Brother Rich made it happen. So, you know, Brother Rich, real talk. I said this to you before, and I'm not playing, man. You a kingmaker for real. It's funny you say that. I thought about that. Somebody mentioned something the other day, and it made me think about that. That's probably one of the biggest compliments I ever got, brother, in my life. I'm talking about, and I thank you because that puts my mind in a different perspective, or in terms of who am I and my purpose in this lifetime. And for you to say that, you know, from one black man to the next, that means a lot. It's one thing, brothers call themselves kings, but if you call a brother a kingmaker, That's a hell of a description,
Is
right?
what it is. Identity and purpose go hand in hand, and you found your purpose, brother, for real. And it's those who could see it's our responsibility to give honor where honor's due. You know, if our job, one of our jobs in ascension, if you want to call it that, if you want to call it uplifting fallen humanity, if you want to call it that, coming out of our present condition, whatever you want to call it, one of the things is to be able to see God in ourselves and see God in each other. And you let it be known.
Right.
You don't hold back honors. You know what I'm saying? And all of us are best knowers in something.
Yeah.
You see? So rather than look at Brother Rich and be like, man, I could do what Rich does. So what? He ain't special. Which is the Negro mentality, right? Rather than do that, it's no. You listen. If I see, real talk. If I see myself and I practice seeing God in me, and I look at Brother Rich and say, well, he's just like me. So I have to practice seeing God in him. So when I see Rich shine, I'm like, that's me shining too. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Indeed.
You see what I'm saying? And again, this was a conversation with me and Brother Billy Carson. He brought it up. He said, man, salute to, as soon as we got in the studio, he said, let me send a picture.
He said it to me, yeah.
Right?
I got it.
Yeah. Picture of Brother Rich, because he was showing honor. He said, Brother Rich made this happen. See?
Dope, man. Hey, you know what? You know what the force is that moves through me that I want to give thanks to this force every minute of the day.
Yeah.
From now to infinity. And that force, that intelligence that moves through me and cloaks me is the I am. The intelligence.
Period, bro.
I'm telling you, this force right here, all praise and honors to that force. Whatever comes after that, y'all know the rest of that.
We're just reflections of the great I am.
Yeah.
If I say I'm going into the other room, I don't say Sharif's going to the other room. I say I. And that's when you say the same I, don't you?
Indeed. Well, we got a lot going on, Sharif, man. You're very, like I said, you gave me honors, and I told you from the first show, nobody brings scholarship to the internet like you. You have that old school hardcore researchers angle that you come from, and you have a new school approach as well. You merge both worlds together, and there's only one Sharif Bey out there as a result of that. So,
to your point, Buster, you're a New Yorker. So you remember the big man days.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You remember the Dempsey Center days.
Yeah.
Okay. See, it wasn't no internet, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Those are VHS tape days.
VHS tape days. Yeah.
See, I came up back then. You see what I'm saying? And so yeah, you really, we're talking the LIU lecture days. Shout out to A.A. Rashid. Shout out, you see what I'm saying? Shout out to the Pills. They know. Indeed. So we were around during that time, and so when you said the old school thing, that's immediately what brought that to mind, bro.
Yeah,
yeah, that's real.
And also, you had access to a lot of these societies, so you got so many perspectives that you coming with. Yes. And I think that's what we need, not to be closed-minded and just get a bunch of TikTok. The TikTokers do their thing, but you're thorough with it. So, man, with that being said, what's going on in the Giza right now? Oh, Sharif, let me tell you this, man. Oh, man. Yeah. Listen, I'm planning. I need you to. You got enough time to prepare. Now, this is going to be. Listen, hold up. Y'all know when I start moving. Oh, when Brother Rich start moving. Y'all know the I am is flowing through me. The great, the magnificent, the infinite I am is flowing through me.
Hold on. Once I start moving. Let me get a clean sheet of paper ready.
Listen, Sharif.
Yeah.
Speaking of Billy Carson, listen. Okay. I'm planning a trip with Billy Carson to the pyramids in 2027. Okay. I need you to be there, brother.
I'm there.
I need you to be there, brother.
Inshallah, I'm there.
I need you to be there. Sharif, listen. I gotta lower my. This is gonna be the biggest trip to Kemet on the face of this planet. The gods have never seen nothing like this, Sharif. It's gonna be absolutely powerful, brother. I'm gonna use every bit of force and energy within my being, within the fiber of my being, to make this the most electric
The most electrified.
The most electrified. Oh man, Sharif. So listen, Sharif on board. It's gonna be
all on board. Count me in.
All-star lineup going to Kemet 2027, family. Woo! My God.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for that, family. Stay tuned for that.
Count me in. That's crazy.
Let's get to this presentation. Nobody could do it like Sharif, the brother. Let me put this up on the screen. Make sure I got it. Okay, so okay. Let me see, son, Sharif. I mean, no, not that, not that. Nope. Not that. Let's do it like this till we start rolling. All right, Sharif. So what we can listen. Let me just set you up. Let me get Ellie, Sharif. A lot is going on in Kemet.
Yeah.
People are saying there's a whole civilization. They're talking about the halls of Amenti. They're talking about sophisticated technology that the world hasn't ever seen. They're mentioning names like Nikola Tesla. The name Tahuti comes up, Anubis comes up. All of these names are surfacing. I need to know. We need to know what's going on, brother. We know you've been in the societies. You've been in the streets. You've been in the Moore Science Temple. Shout out to the Moore Science Temple.
Yes, sir.
You've got knowledge from everywhere, brother. So we need to know, brother. Bring it like only how you could bring it, my brother. Let's go.
All right, that's what's up. All right, listen. First, I'm so honored to again. I always say that, and I really mean it. I'm honored that you saw something in me to introduce me to your audience, bro.
Yes, sir.
Salute to you for that. I'm honored to be in the presence of your audience because you all are true seekers after truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm honored, and I'm honored to share. That's all I'm doing. I can only give. Matter of fact, if there's any good in this presentation, as in previous presentations, the credit goes to the I am in each of us. The mistakes are mine. Okay, let's just get that out the way. The mistakes are mine. I'm giving credit to the great I am that we're all on our way to meet inside of ourselves. Woo. All right, cool. So first things first, the Giza power plan. Okay, first of all, I love the title. Right? But let's talk about it. You see right on my title sheet, my title's slide in the upper left corner. That's a graphic, of course. You guys have been seeing it's been on fire all over the internet. That's a graphic of what these scientists recently found. Now, okay, the things that they're finding and publishing are extremely important, but there's something much more important that we have to wrap our minds around first. Okay, let's keep it a buck. You really think that certain other powers didn't already know what's under the pyramid? Let's just start with that. And I'm going to give you all an example. You mentioned Nikola Tesla, right? Nikola Tesla was brilliant. We all know. Who was backing Nikola Tesla so he could, because he wasn't a rich man. So who was backing him? Who was financing him?
Was it Rockefeller?
Nah.
No.
It was JP Morgan.
JP Morgan. Okay, JP Morgan.
JP Morgan was backing him. Now you got to look at what these guys, Rockefellers, JP Morgan, what were they into? See? They were into conventional industry and energy sources. Okay. They made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? Okay. So you got a guy like Nikola Tesla who pops up and says, my dream is to provide free energy for the whole world. What do you think they were thinking?
Hell nah.
Thank you. And it was all good. It was all good until he built Wardenclyffe Tower based on what he believed the pyramids were intended to do. Okay. And when he built Wardenclyffe Tower, right, and successfully demonstrated that you could pull energy from what we could say 0 point. From a 3D perspective, a mundane material perspective, that means you can get something from nothing. When he demonstrated that it could be done, they pulled his funding. That's what happened. Pulled his funding. The man died near penniless. And 15 minutes after his death was announced, the FBI was up in his spot snatching his safe or cracking his safe and taking his notes.
Mm.
That's what happened. So understand two things. These scientists, we're going to go into more detail of what they found and what they said. These scientists found what they found and then published it. And you got the major gatekeepers such as Zahi Hawass of the, he's the head of the Egyptian Department of Antiquities, Ancient Antiquities, going crazy. Going crazy. Why is he going crazy? Because that wasn't supposed to get out. We're looking at a very real, follow me, and we're going to back this up. We are looking, us regular people on the ground are looking at a war in heaven. We're looking at the powers that be fighting amongst each other. Satan divided us against himself, cannot stand. We have front row seats. That's what we're looking at. This got let out, and the powers that be said, they're saying, nah, it's not real. That's what we're looking at. But they knew the whole time. You think J.P. Morgan and those guys didn't know the possibilities of what Nikola Tesla was aiming at? Of course they did. Of course they did. You think they don't know anything about certain secret organizations that preserve this knowledge? Of course they do. See? When Oppenheimer, the head scientist of the Manhattan Project, right? When they were experimenting and trying to develop their first atomic bomb, right? When it went off, he quoted one of his ancient sources. He quoted out of the Avesta, where Kali, the Hindu goddess Kali, said, "Behold, I have become death, the destroyer of worlds." What was that reference to? It was reference to another ancient atomic destruction of a city, Mohenjo-Daro. That's what it was. See what I'm saying? That's what it was, bro. All right, next slide. Let's go. Let's get the heavy lifting part out of the way first. You guys have heard me say this before. It's so important. The secret is narrative. It's always narrative. Always narrative. Narrative control is social engineering. What do we mean by that? It means when somebody can prescribe the limits of how you think, it doesn't matter what you know. Let me say it again. When someone can prescribe the perimeters of how you think, it doesn't matter what you know or what information you have. The secret is not info, it's narrative on how to put the information together. Okay? So this big thing with disclosure, that's why everybody's in an uproar about what they recently found under the pyramid at Khafre. They're in an uproar because it forces too many of the wrong questions for them. It forces this whole issue, what we call disclosure. Things that are secret now being made open to the public. Okay? Disclosure. Disclosure requires a complete socio-psychological overhaul, a paradigm shift in thinking for the entire world. That is the biggest issue, people. Pardon me. That's the biggest issue. And so remember, the powers that be, their thing is control. They want to control the masses. Understand? So these things bring up all the wrong questions. They don't want average people asking these questions. Because you look at that picture with these 8 massive pylons or whatever they are, cylinders under the pyramid, 8 of them, and they're coiled around with something. What's the first question that's popping in your mind, Brother Rich, when you see that picture? What's the first question?
Pardon me, I was on mute. I think about the Tesla coil.
Okay. So no, see what you just verbalized was an answer to the question your mind already thought. What is the purpose? See?
Okay. Yeah.
There you go. What's the purpose? So society has been programmed to think a particular way. This, mind you, please bear with these first 3 slides, people. This is the heavy lifting part, okay, till we get to the good part. For instance, the origins of HIV. Now, we all know that it didn't come from no green monkey in Central Africa. We know that, don't we? But the pervading narrative still persists, doesn't it? See my point? The pervading narrative still persists. So we have to be able to look at the narrative. The narrative, another way to look at narrative is to look at it as a social and psychological algorithm. It dictates how things operate in plain sight.
That's
But
deep. You
itself-
came up with that? You came up with that?
It just popped in my head just now, bro.
That's powerful. Say that the algorithm of social and
Narrative is a social and psychological algorithm.
damn, bro, that's powerful.
That's what it is.
Hmm.
We're gonna get some examples. Next slide. Pervading. These are examples of pervading narratives. Pervading narratives tend to prevail despite the contrary evidence. For instance, Columbus discovered America. And we all know that's not true. But the narrative is still a pervading one, isn't it? Here's another one. The unknown pre-slavery origins of Black people. Everybody else can directly trace themselves to old world connections. But when you start talking about it, all of a sudden people get amnesia. All of a sudden people say, well, we don't really know. We just grab people from Africa. We can't tell you. But we could put a satellite out in the far reaches of the solar system, but in the course of 400 years, they forgot who we were. And not only forgot, we'll tell you, you can't know. So the only way you could just follow me, people. Every nation on the planet has suffered slavery. Everyone. But our people are the only ones that they demand we identify ourselves by a former condition of servitude. Think about that. See? That's a pervading narrative that we're fighting against. UFOs are of alien origin. Ha! Pervading narrative. Pervading narrative. You see? To the point, follow me, people. To the point where the big buzzword now is the Anunnaki. All of a sudden, they're aliens. Think about what that word does to you psychologically. Brother Rich, when you hear the word alien, what does it do to you psychologically?
Well, what it did to me in the past and now is two different things. When I first heard the word alien, it made me fearful. You know
why fearful though? Because you didn't see yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. See my point?
Mm.
See my point? It's the same thing with UFOs of alien origin. UFOs must have hated so-called white people. Because all this crazy stuff like pyramids and even Stonehenge, all these things were done around our people. But rather than give our people the credit, it was green men from Mars. See my point? Even to the point of calling Anunnaki aliens. So you, psychologically, you already have said, oh, that can't be me. See? Who are the Anunnaki part of? What people were they part of, people? Ancient Sumerians, ancient Canaanites, ancient Akkadians. There you go. Who's that? See? False narrative. Humans evolved from monkeys. Another one. False narrative. You ever heard of a monkey heart transplant?
No.
Why not, if we all evolved from monkeys and they're the closest thing to us genetically? See, if we follow that logic, then we're descended from pigs. Follow, right? You following me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, these are pervading narratives that circumscribe how we think. See? And how we think shapes what we do. And what we do shapes our outer reality. That's how a world is created, people, by controlling how people think and directing how they think. Here's another pervading narrative that's false. Africoid phenotype, in other words, woolly hair, dark skin, wide nose, thick lips, only come from continental Africa. It's false, but it pervades despite the contrary evidence. And here's the last one that's relative to our topic today. Pyramids are tombs. Do you understand that they're still trying to tell us that today? Haven't found a body in one of them. See? But they want to tell us that these things, with the amazing amount of precision, mathematical, advanced mathematics, all this stuff, just to put a dead body in it? Yeah, right. But you understand my point, everyone? You understand my point? These narratives still pervade despite the fact that we know, if we're thinking, that at least they're highly questionable. See? But the narrative pervades. Why? Because narrative control is more important than money to the powers that be. Because narrative control controls how you think. I don't need your money. If I control how you think, I'll make you spend it on me. See? I control how you think. Next slide. Here's an alternative narrative that many people have never thought of. What if these monuments, here, follow me. Imagine shrinking your body down to micro size and then walking through the engine of your car. Essentially, that's what our people are doing, or people in general are doing, when they are touring inside a pyramid. See? Because the way we've been taught to think, we would never think of stone as a component of machinery. You hear me? We would never think of that. Remember, people, granite is crystalline. We're going to talk in detail more about the properties of that. Granite is crystalline, people. Okay? There's a book, I meant to, as a matter of fact, it's called The Giza Power Plant. Brother Rich, have you seen a copy of that book?
Seen it, but never read it, but I've seen it.
The author of the book is an engineer. So how do you think he's going to look at this thing? That's why he wrote the book. He's looking at the internal structure. He's looking at the king's chamber and all these things. And he's like, wait a minute. This isn't an edifice for people like a dwelling place or me. This is a mechanism. This is a machine. And he started to look at it from that perspective. Understand? Real quick. And I meant to make this analogy before, talking about narratives and how changing your narrative can expand your understanding. Follow me. Back when I was a freshman in college, and I've told you all this before, when I was a freshman in college, I had this thought about writing a paper on HIV being scientifically engineered genocide. And the first paper I wrote didn't do so well. And I realized at that time, I said, I'm asking more questions than I'm giving answers. So I said, okay, what is the pervading narrative on HIV? Came from a green monkey. It's passed these particular ways and it can't be passed these particular ways. Okay, cool. Well, what if I followed the narrative that I'm proposing, that it's biological warfare? Let me look in that direction. Let me look at, not the word HIV, let me look at biological warfare, recombinant DNA technology used in biowarfare. And oh my God, the whole thing opened up. I found the actual order for the virus. Tuesday, July 10th, 1969 in Congress. House of Representatives Bill 15090. I found the civilian order for it after they requisitioned over $10 million for the development of it. World Health Organization Bulletin number 47, 1972, page 259. A paper called Viral Immunopathology, Animal Models and Implications for Human Disease. And in the paper, they say they want to develop a virus that would destroy the T cells and eat T cells as opposed to B cells. Right there. I found when they deployed it, all I had to do was change my narrative. That's our point. So start looking at these ancient monuments like machines, like power plants. Okay? Like power plants. Very, very important. One of the thing about it, like I got pictures up here of some of the stone masonry in Pumapunku. One of the things that all of the researchers say about it is what? Is that it is, you can almost cut yourself on the edges. It's so precise. They literally say it's machine grade precision. And this last part in this slide, keep it in mind all the time. Purpose evades us due to our current narrative programming. In other words, we've been programmed to think a particular way. Like, for instance, in this case, we would have never thought of stone as components of a machine because we've been taught to think in a particular direction. Therefore, it is near impossible for many of us to even intuit what the purpose is. Get it? Next slide. This is the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan in Mexico. One of the things that they have that was found a long time ago in this pyramid, right, is mica, thick sheets of mica in certain places in the pyramid. Now, the conventional status quo explanation is, oh, it was decorative. Really? They brought this mica from 4,000 kilometers away just to be decorative? And there's sheets in particular format. Yeah, right. What's mica used for in modern time? It's used for electrical and thermal insulation. That's what it's used for. And in this particular pyramid, it was discovered between two upper parts of the pyramid. That's machine technology, people. That's industrial, not decorative. See what I'm saying? Next slide. All right, now we get into, is everybody good? Everybody's good? What's the chat like, brother? I'm not in it right now.
Chat doing great. Chat doing great.
Outstanding. So this is, hold on. This is what took place right here. Scientists, I'll read it because it's small print. Scientists, this is the actual report, are now more confident that a vast city lies 4,000 feet beneath Egypt's Giza pyramids, following the release of new analysis from a research team based in Italy. The team claims to have discovered large, multi-thousand foot tall wells and enormous chambers beneath the Khafre pyramid, using high-frequency electromagnetic waves to detect structures buried deep underground. They believe that these findings are highly reliable, with a confidence level above 85%, that the structures they identified truly exist between the pyramid, beneath the pyramid, and others on the Giza plateau. To reach this conclusion, the researchers employed a specialized algorithm to process the electromagnetic wave data and generate detailed images of what appeared to be spiral wells leading to enormous chambers below the surface. The team also cross-checked these detected formations with known architectural structures, such as the Pozzo di San Patrizio in Italy, to further validate their findings. Despite the team's confidence, this is where it gets interesting, independent experts have raised concerns about the validity of these claims. Professor Lawrence Conyers, a radar expert at the University of Denver who specializes in archaeology, criticized the study, explaining that without any known reference points or structures to compare the data to, the claimed confidence levels are significantly meaningless. What are they really saying? What is Kanye's really saying here? What he's saying is, so what you found it? You don't have anything else to compare it to, so you don't know its purpose. You can't intuit its purpose. Therefore, your 85% confidence rate doesn't mean anything. That's like saying, maybe I did shoot the guy, but you can't find no gun, so you ain't got no proof. That's what that's like. Many believe that without further verification, the claims lack sufficient evidence to alter the Here it is. Listen close. Many believe that without further verification, the claims lack sufficient evidence to alter the understanding of ancient Egyptian history. What are they doing, people? They're gatekeeping. They're like, look, we're saying they're tombs. We don't care what you find. We're saying they're tombs. You see, they're doing their best to desperately protect the narrative, despite the obvious evidence that you see in front of you. You see? Next slide. So let's talk about some possible expanded narratives. How many of you ever heard of this term, electroculture? Brother Rich, we talked about it briefly. What did you find when you looked it up?
Oh, how it helps the plants tremendously.
But how does it? How is the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me I can wrap some copper wire? First of all, you see that spiral wire in the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see it's kind of spiraled, and it looks very similar to what we just saw in the previous.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You see it's in the ground, right?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So the question now becomes, you mean to tell me that I can just simply wrap some copper wire and stick it in the ground, and I can, doesn't that sound a lot like what Tesla did, though? All right. I can wrap some copper wire and just stick it in the ground, and it's just going to attract energy. Electroculture, a practice that aims to enhance plant growth by accessing and harnessing natural energies like telluric currents and atmospheric energy by way of the 0 point via the use of magnets and or copper wiring and antennas. Now here, you mentioned earlier about my connection to certain secret orders. There's a particular order that has inherited ancient and old, and we did a show on this, brother, before, right? Ancient technology that they call the copper mysteries. They actually call them magical machines. That's what they call them. They call them magical machines. The one particular order called the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor. Where's Luxor? Anybody? Where's Luxor?
Isn't that's in Egypt, right?
Ancient Egypt. It sure was.
Yeah.
Well, there's a particular order called the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor. We've talked before about a particular brother out of New York City in the 1800s. He was admittedly, he was the most important figure in the Western occult and magical revival because he provided the Western occult revival with most of its deepest secrets. His name was Pascal Beverly Randolph. You familiar with the name, brother?
Yep.
Yeah. He was one of the Grand Masters at one time of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor. There's a man, and look him up. He was also a member of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor in Georgia by the name of Peter Davidson. Look him up. Peter Davidson, Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor. One of the things he was known for, and he didn't give his secret away, but now I just did. He was known for using certain ancient secret knowledge to grow produce down in Georgia 3 to 5 times faster and bigger. Now you know what it was. Next slide. All right. Get to know this guy if you don't know him. Some of you already I know do.
I got the book.
Okay.
I got the book.
All right. Okay. Dr. Ibrahim Kareem. So what brother Rich, what do you know about him from the book? What do you get from the book?
I think Robert Gilbert, I believe, put me on him, and they deal heavily with sacred geometry.
He was a student, Robert Gilbert.
Yeah.
You know, may Allah be pleased with me. You know, he passed away, right?
He just passed away. Yes.
Robert Gilbert was.
I tried to get him on the show. I'm sorry. I tried to get him on the show.
That would have been amazing.
I think his people, you know, I was black, so his people probably was like, I don't know.
They blocked you. now, let me just talk about that real quick. Let me just talk about that real quick. Make no mistake, and I mean, if this offends some people, I'm sorry. It might offend some people, but make no mistake. That's another thing about you, Brother Rich. A lot of the topics and the general gist of the topics that you entertain and broadcast, this is all our legacy, people. Mm-hmm. It's our birthright. Mm. This stuff's our birthright. But make no mistake, other people know it's our birthright, and they go hard with it. Look, don't believe me? Look at the Gaia Network. Mm. Yeah. Look at the Gaia Network. They go hard with whose stuff? Your stuff. See? So what you're, brother, okay, this is one of my personal things. Brother Rich, what you're helping me to do is help us take back the narrative. See? You're helping us take back the narrative. Don't you want your own stuff back?
Of course.
One of the things that our brother Dr. Ibrahim Kareem rediscovered about ancient Egyptian technology is scalar radiations. Scalar. Meaning, see, we're familiar with things that are below light speed. Mm-hmm. Again, we've been put to sleep. The present narrative has put us to sleep. See? But in putting us to sleep, it put itself largely to sleep too. Mm. See? Everybody, unless you are part of that elite, everybody's blind to what's behind the veil in terms of technology and knowledge. Unless you belong to certain secret organizations, maybe. You see? So Dr. Ibrahim Kareem rediscovered subtle scalar radiations and energies. Okay? There's, like, for instance, positive. Guess what he discovered? Between the visible spectrum of colors and light, there's scalar energies. Positive green, negative
green. Yep.
You know about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See? It's at the positive green spot. That's the sweet spot. Like the Dr. Gilbert would say, the center of the center of the center. Right? Mm-hmm. So human consciousness, we talked about this before, the will of man, belief, allows us to access 0 point. See? And if we can access 0 point with consciousness, guess what else we can do? Human beings built cell phones. So we can build a contraption that can imitate, duplicate, or amplify that ability. Following me?
Check.
Okay. So pyramids, among other things, can access 0 point energy, can access positive green, and can deflect or nullify negative green. Remember the curses that were put on some of the ancient Egyptian tombs?
Yeah.
Like King Tut's tomb?
Yeah. I just went over that with Billy. Yep.
And people started falling out and dying because they was like, man, whatever. Europeans like, man, whatever. Right? What do you think they died from? Negative green exposure.
Whew.
Yeah, this is science, people. Yeah. But as has been said, any unexplainable science is indistinguishable from magic. Next slide. We've talked about this before, the luminiferous ether. Einstein, in his early career, tried to debunk it, said it didn't exist, right? But then, and that was widely published. But then later in his career, before he died, he recanted that and said, nah, it does. But guess what? That wasn't widely published. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. Okay? Let's make it very simple for all of us. Okay? Let's make it very, very simple. Right? Ether. You know what's close to ether? There's this European woman who's making a ton of videos out there. She's got crazy content, right? And I like what she's saying. The ancients called it ether. Today, we would call it plasma. There are various other states of matter besides liquid, gas, and solid, people. Ether is a substance that is barely a substance, or barely what we could call a substance. It's more like the lattice work or the planned ideal essence structure for matter. Okay, that's what ether is. The postulated medium for the propagation of light and thought, invoked to explain the travel of wave-based light through apparently empty space. Something that should not be possible. Initially debunked by Einstein, only for him to later validate it, but his validation went unpublished. Why? Because it's a part of what they want to keep behind the veil. Two independent groups of scientists in 2018 revived the theory after their research indicated a relationship between dark matter and how ether was expected to behave. Space is not empty. Now we know that to be true. Space is not empty. Space is a fabric, and that fabric is made up of ether, or what we could call plasma. And space-time, the space fabric and space-time are two different things. The fabric is a cosmological phenomenon pervading the universe. Time is the activation of a physical entity and remains active until the space fabric is physically activated in the form of electromagnetic waves or gravitational pull. Ether is the medium that allows manifestation to happen. And it sets the order or degrees and dimensions of manifestation. We have that in the More Science Symbol of America as part of our religious doctrine, but guess what? David Bohm, the world famous quantum physicist, said it he just used different words to describe the exact same thing. It's science. He described it as the implicate order. Next slide. All right. Now let's talk about some really cool stuff. But this is all relates. First of all, you see that nail, right? You see that? How many of you all did this experiment in school? Made an electromagnet with an iron nail and copper wire. You done that before, Brother Rich?
Long time ago.
Does that look similar to something we saw earlier in this presentation?
Yeah, man.
So, like I said before, certain orders called, the use of copper and then certain knowledge of copper, they called it the copper mysteries. Right? Copper plays, now this is deep what we're about to talk about here. By the way, you see that product, right? You could buy this product, easy. Copper plays a role in cellular differentiation and de-differentiation, with studies showing that copper levels can influence the direction of cell fate, including promoting or delaying differentiation, and that copper homeostasis is crucial for proper development and function. Let me explain that in simple terms. Do you understand what that meant, Brother Rich?
Somewhat, not all the way.
I'm going to explain it in simple terms, people. Copper homeostasis. The word homeostasis means you have the right amount of it in your system. It determines proper development, cellular development and function. Now, the words differentiation and de-differentiation, this is huge, people. Please pay attention. Everybody's heard of stem cells, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Stem cells?
Yeah.
Cool. Stem cells are important, especially for rejuvenation and regeneration, healing certain diseases, right? As a matter of fact, that's how certain radical cures have now been made public. See? People are now being cured from sickle cell because of stem cell technology. Other things as well. Right? Now, copper plays a huge role in that. So, what is the purpose of a stem cell? What does it do? A stem cell is an undifferentiated cell. It can become a brain cell, a nerve cell, a blood cell, a skin cell. You see? But here's where it gets deep, Brother Rich. This man by the name of Robert Becker, please get this book. I've mentioned the book before. The book is called The Body Electric. And this is relative. What I'm talking about is relative to what we're dealing with here. The Body Electric. Dr. Robert Becker was doing his research, and his question on his research was this: is it possible for the human mechanism to regenerate organs and limbs? That was his research. The short answer that he concluded was yes, it is possible. But how is it? What are we talking about? What are we talking about when we're talking about the ability for the human body to regenerate limbs and organs? We're talking about what our brother Billy Carson was talking about when he was last in Egypt, when he took people to the halls of Amenti. That's what we're talking about. Human regeneration, people. Okay, let's go. So, Dr. Robert Becker, his research said yes, it's possible, but it depends upon an amplification of the body's bioenergy. And in his research, they found copper in the body to be very significant, because as you read here, it's not only important for stem cells to be able to appropriately go where they need to go and be designated as they need to be designated, but guess what else it does? If there's differentiation, there's also de-differentiation, Brother Rich. You know what de-differentiation is? It's this. The human body has the ability to turn a skin cell, a brain cell, a nerve cell, a blood cell back into a stem cell, brother. You can physically regenerate yourself. You hear me? Look at that graphic of the nail and the copper wire again. What does it look like? All right. Next slide. There's a term I want you've all have heard me talk about it before. The term is called piezoelectricity. Piezoelectricity is literally this, people. You take a crystal, and because crystals have piezoelectric properties, and anything crystalline has piezoelectric properties. What is piezoelectric property? You physically stress the thing that has the property, you apply physical stress to it, it gives off an electric charge. Quartz does that. That's why quartz is in your watches. See? Crystals do that. The crystals, the rhomboid crystals are in your pineal gland, do that if you know how to give them the proper physical stress. It's the truth. See? It's the truth. Remember what we said earlier in this presentation? Granite is what?
Crystal.
Okay. Y'all see where we're going? Next slide. Oh, hold on. Go back. Stay on this slide. Who's familiar with Schumann resonance?
Yeah, we all pretty much know the Earth gives off the Schumann resonance.
Right. There's your physical stress, people.
Mm.
Okay. You get it?
Mm.
All right. Next slide. This is our last slide, people. I went through a whole lot of stuff really fast. This is something that we've talked about before. Ancient Mount Horeb, nowadays called Sarabit el-Kadim. There was ruins found there. It was an old Egyptian-style temple dedicated to the goddess Hathor. Okay? They found, Sir Flinders Petrie found that it was a manufacturing plant for monoatomic gold. And also, it carried the secrets regarding the manufacturing of the Ark of the Covenant. What is Ark of the Covenant? A giant electrical capacitor. The current head of the Knights Templar Order, they actually now boast that they have in their possession 4 of them.
Wow.
They said that Egypt made 10 of them, ancient Egypt. And they said that they're in possession of 4 of them. And here's what's crazy about it. The first one that they got their hands on, guess where they found it?
Where?
America.
We're at in America.
He didn't say.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, he didn't say. He didn't say. He didn't say. So this is the end of the presentation, but I got more to speak about what we just showed.
Right.
Here we go. And again, we're being responsible here. I'm not going to jump up here and tell everybody, oh, I know exactly what's under the pyramids, because I don't. But what I'm doing and what I'm sharing with you all is an expanded narrative. This stuff is secret, but not to everybody. You see? And what I've demonstrated and shown you is that at least a number of the aspects of what we're seeing with these with the recent discovery under the pyramid at Khafre is stuff that a lot of you may not have seen, but somebody has. A lot of you may not be familiar with, but somebody is. Okay? And if we look, all we have to do is expand our perspective and look at it. Okay, let's not look at it as a tomb. Let's not look at it as an astrological or an astronomical observatory. Let's look at it as a machine. Let's look at it as a power plant. But now we have to ask ourselves the logical questions. If it's a power plant, what kind of power? See? What kind of power? You know, where is it getting the power from? See? We have to start asking ourselves these things. Are there, and if this is see, now follow this. Science follows philosophy. Let me say it again. Science follows philosophy. In order for me to invent something, I have to be thinking a particular way. See? If I'm thinking material, it's only going to take me so far. But what's one of the famous quotes from Nikola Tesla? If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think vibration, frequency, amplitude. In other words, start to see energetic process as the object, not something you can taste, touch, hear, feel, smell. Start to see energetic process as the actual object. Now your thoughts expand past what's material. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
That's the idea. When I look at Brother Rich, instead of looking at his physical complexion or his physical body, I need to learn to start looking at Brother Rich as a complex system of character traits, personality traits, because all of those are energies, people. See? We have to change our narrative, change our perspective, change our vision. As these things start to, because they're going to start to come out even more. Like what we just saw, what was presented by these scientists in Italy, what was presented by these scientists in Italy is an indicator that the doors of disclosure are being burst open, and that the powers that be have less and less and less control over it. We want to be able to expand our perception, expand our narrative, so that we can rise to the occasion with the unveiling of what's being disclosed. So we don't fall behind, and we can't, to the point we can't make the paradigm shift. And it would be a shame for us in particular. Why? Because it's our forefathers. It's their gift to us.
Oh, that resonated.
It's their gift to us. We have to, what's more important? Knowing how to build no, what's more important? Possession of a pyramid or possession of the mind state that made it?
Oh yeah, that mind state.
Come on, people. That's what we want to pursue. We want to chase the state of mind of our forefathers, not the objects that they made. See? We want to return to the state of mind of our forefathers. How did they think about energy? How did they think about technology? See? Billy Carson, when they were there in the halls of Amenti, and they were in those big, gigantic granite sarcophaguses, and he took his Geiger counter and was like, whoa, the energy in here is off the roof. The energy is still active. The energy is still active. See? Now it comes to how do you activate it, right? Now, mind you, these chambers, Billy Carson said, were rejuvenation chambers. Guess what else they were? Transportation chambers. We all saw it before. You saw it on Star Trek. They had these little platforms you stand on. Okay. We saw it before. Brother Rich, I have a special treat for you. A special treat. You guys have heard me talk about this stuff. But I'm going to show and prove. I don't have him on today, but we'll schedule a time whenever you have time. What I'm talking about right now, right? One of my good friends who was a part of top secret special access projects. One of those projects was, guess what? Portal technology. I will bring him on the show, brother, on your show. And you can hear it from him firsthand. Your audience can ask him questions.
Oh, yeah. We need to set that up ASAP, man.
It's no problem. He's on deck.
Okay.
Like, he's on deck. He's a Native American brother, right? And he'll tell you flat out. He'll be like, look, all of the recent scientific portals are all made over ancient sites, because the ancient people already knew that that they're natural portals. And they built monuments and other things directly over those points. And they knew that there's certain times in which they can be accessed and under certain conditions. And those are the things that they kept secret and still keep secret. And that some of the portals take them to different parts of the planet. Some of the portals will take you to parts inside the planet. Some of the portals will take you to different planets. Yep.
Sharif, do you think there's a possibility that, we talked about, the powers that were, Phil Valentine calls them the parasitic elite. There's several names for them. But them already knowing what was under the pyramids, do you think that they're in such a point of, you talked about the war in the heavens and the infighting that's going on amongst them right now.
Yes, yes.
Do you think that they need a breakthrough, a major breakthrough? They're looking to extend their time. They need a major breakthrough. And this is the reason why they're releasing it, because the breakthrough has to come through from somebody who's in vibrational alignment with, I guess, the ancients, and they're not. So they're hoping one of the good guys can cause something to happen for them, and they could leech on to that.
You're very close. Here we go. You're very close. You're very close. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, brother, but before he died, matter of fact, the year was 1997. I brought the late William Cooper, the author of Behold a Pale Horse, to Syracuse, New York.
You told me.
Yeah. So he even said out of his own mouth, he said, listen, in my chapter, The Secret Government, we talk about aliens and this and the third. He goes, that was a part of our briefing on the naval, on the naval top secret briefing team. He says, but I suspected then that's exactly what they wanted us to know. That was an op. When we talked in person, he said, oh yeah, it was definitely an op. So we asked him, we said, well, if it ain't aliens, then what is it? This is what he said. 90% of the stuff you see up there in the sky is our stuff. But the other 10% is an unknown reality that we're trying to catch up to. The point is that as much as they have, they're not in total control. This is why they're scared of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Because you got little small men that look like you and me that ain't have a whole lot of money, ain't have a whole lot of stuff, but said, oh, no, those people are our people. The mystery of the true identity of the so-called black man in America is just as much of a disclosure event as the intelligence behind the UFOs, brother.
God damn, you said, hold up.
They're intertwined. Those two mysteries are intertwined, bro.
Say that again. Hold up. The history of the black man in America is as much of a disclosure event as a goddamn the true identity.
Is just as much a disclosure issue.
Yeah, as the UFO.
But it's hand in hand with the UFO phenomenon, the intelligence behind the UFO phenomenon.
Whew.
Hand in hand, brother. Yes, sir.
Sharif, did Elijah or any of you mentioned several names during this presentation.
Yes, sir.
Melanated names. Let me just name a couple of them because we talked about Tesla. Let me talk about some of the brothers you mentioned. You mentioned Elijah. You mentioned the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You mentioned Pascal Beverly Randolph.
Yes, sir.
Has any of the melanated brothers and sisters in this country ever talked about portals? Like you're about to have the Native American brother. Has anybody ever gotten to that science? That because I don't know of any.
Openly,
yeah.
Not directly.
Okay.
There have been allusions. Like I'll give you an example. We know now some of us are open to the idea that there was an expansion of ancient Egypt in the Americas. Grand Canyon, Southern Illinois, Burroughs Cave, all these places, a number of other places, right?
Right.
But we know that now. In the 1920s, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was with some of his followers, some of his members, and he stopped at a particular point. Now, this is deep. He stopped at a particular point and said, from this point, a Moabitess queen by the name of Queen Nutha waged war against 5 pharaohs. Then he dug into the ground and pulled up a metal bar with strange inscriptions on it.
Who? Elijah did this?
Noble Drew Ali did. Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Noble Drew Ali did this. Shit.
Yeah, that's real. Now, why am I bringing that up? There's a book. Get the book. The book is called The Origin of the Egyptians by an old Rosicrucian and archaeologist by the name of Augustus Le Plongeon. That's right. He is doing research, and this was around the turn of the century, in Mexico, Central and South America.
Mm-hmm.
He said the origin of the Egyptians. Maybe, maybe not. I wouldn't say the origin of the Egyptians. I think that's a little narrow-minded.
Mm-hmm.
If we master the whole planet, get it?
Mm-hmm.
That means you're both placed simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I won't pigeonhole and say, oh, the origin was here or the origin was there. We had the whole planet. All right. But this is what he was doing. Because of his skill that he learned through Rosicrucian training, clairvoyantly, he's traveling with his Mexican guides, and he would be like, stop right here, dig right here, dig up something crazy, take pictures of it, and then to hide it, because this was when Manifest Destiny was in high gear. So there's a lot of people against it, what he was doing. Take pictures, rebury it. But he was literally doing psychic archaeology. Real talk. Yeah. Psychic archaeology. Guess what that guess what that science is called now? If any of you have downloaded Project Stargate from the CIA files, which you can do, guess what that science is called? It's called psychometry.
Psychometry. Damn.
Oh, they're looking for people that naturally have the ability so they can further develop it. It's called psychometry, where you can pick up a cup and go, just by touching it, you can get information on who touched it last, on who manufactured. Yes, it's an actual science. It's called psychometry. Prophet Noble Drew Ali demonstrated that science. So that by implication, he probably knew about some of these other things too.
Right.
Matter of fact, there's a quote from Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He said, "I can tell you some things that'll turn your brain to water." Why? Because we won't be able to make the paradigm shift. We already think a particular way. You got to bring people out of things in stages and degrees.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the early 1930s was teaching on the mother plane, a half-mile by half-mile oval-shaped object in the air. He never said alien, ever.
Never used the word alien?
Never used the word alien. Know what he said?
What?
He said it was built by original people. He said it was ancient technology. He said it was built on an island off the coast of Japan, completed in the year 1929, and took flight that same year. Incidentally, we don't believe in coincidence. That was the year that Prophet Noble Drew Ali passed away, 1929.
1929. Wow.
Yeah.
When did because talking to what's his name, Dr. Wesley Muhammad.
Shout out to Wesley. That's my brother. That's my comrade right there.
Yeah, he always says Zachariah Stitchin jacked Elijah's swag, took a lot of his shit.
Heavily.
So you in agreement with that?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Zachariah Stitchin. See, remember, people, narrative. If I could change your narrative is the algorithm. It's the psychological algorithm. You know what we call change a narrative, brother?
What?
Initiation. That's what we call it.
Okay.
That's what initiation does. Changes the narrative. Now, Zachariah Sitchin had a particular narrative. So that's how he read and interpreted what he was reading. Here's an example. Follow me. In the Arabic Quran, the Quran of Mecca, there's a phrase, there's a scripture that says, how can you doubt Allah when he gave you life, caused you to die, and then gave you life again, and to him all return. If we in the West, the general Westerner, read that, how would we interpret it? Oh, death, burial, and resurrection, like Jesus. Go to India. Read the same thing in India. How can you doubt Allah that he gave you life, caused you to die, brought you back to life again, and to him you return? What would the people in India say? Oh, reincarnation. See? Two different narratives. Understand?
Deep, yeah.
Two different narratives. So it doesn't matter if you have a lot of data and information if you got the wrong narrative. More importantly, if you got the narrative of your former slave master. Doesn't matter. You still won't see it. You get it?
Somebody said narratives, psychology, chemistry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is such a thing called biotheology and chemotheology.
Damn.
Yeah. There sure is. There sure is.
Sharif, let me ask you, what do you think about the idea of because me and Billy was talking about these huge blocks that were underground and how they got there. We're talking about the ether and the ether surrounding everything, and the ether being the bridge from the spiritual to the physical world, the manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts and your knowledge of instantaneous manifestation? Like I say, Sharif, you want to see a bar of gold? Voila. And there's a bar of gold right in front of me.
Let's talk about it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Glad you brought that up. Remember what we said about narrative?
Mm-hmm.
And also, philosophy is a direct result of narrative. So in the Western world, everything is solid material.
Mm-hmm.
In the Western world, because of that, two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? Because the Western world is locked into 3 dimensions in their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But what if your thinking expanded past 3 dimensions? In the higher dimensions, those laws don't exist that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the higher dimensions, not only do things occupy the same space, it's routine.
Mm-hmm.
And if all things are one, listen to what I'm saying, that means anything that's a manifest is just a shadow of oneness from a different perspective. You hear what I just said?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking from that perspective, I could turn a bar of lead into a bar of gold. Because that's just application of my philosophy.
Right.
Okay. So, Emery Smith, a number of whistleblowers from top secret projects that have seen some crazy things, talk about, for instance, compartments in the inner earth that have no tunnels or anything of how to get there, but had stuff in it. Yeah, how? Yeah. See? It's difficult for us to wrap our minds around. Why? Because the narrative we've been given is that, well, if there ain't no tunnel, there's no physical way to get there. How do you do it? Okay. See? But if we can think multidimensionally, like our forefathers did, instead of thinking that there's one dimension for 3D, or one plane of 3 dimensions, that there's 7 planes. See?
Yeah.
If we could think like that, then instead of thinking I have to travel from here to here, I can watch. This is the destination. This is me. I can pull the destination to me. Let's talk about my friend, and he's going to talk about it on your show. My friend, that's the whistleblower that worked on portal technology. He took an ancient Native American concept. Listen close to what I'm telling you. He took an ancient Native American concept from his tribe. They divide time, I'll give it a number, 14 different sections. So any distance from point A to point B, in their philosophy, there are 14 different sections. He said, well, what if I take 2 sections out of the 14 out? Guess what he did? Being a scientist,
What?
He designed an algorithm for the idea. Then he built a little machine that would play the algorithm. Then he installed the little machine in his personal automobile. Driving a distance that would take 4 hours took him 2. And it wasn't just a trick of the mind. A couple times he brought his daughter with him. Then another one of his scientist friends, he told him what he did, and his scientist friend duplicated it and said, I don't like to do it, though, because it made my head hurt. He built a freaking time machine, brother.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. He'll talk about it on the show.
Can't wait to get him. I'm gonna try to get him on next week. It's real soon.
I'll call him tonight as soon as we get off.
Well, let me ask you this, since we're talking about that, and because this is something that, moving into this new paradigm, people are going to discover ways of teleporting and manifesting things, and energy and all that stuff.
Yes.
I'm gonna use an example. Sometimes a person, Sharif, say you misplaced something, right, Sharif? And I want to ask you, is this an example? I want to ask you: Is this an example of
Yeah.
like instantaneous manifestation?
Yeah.
Say you misplaced something, you like can't find it. Where the hell did I put that?
And this happened, brother.
You like what the just like that? Yeah. You knew where I was going.
I knew exactly where you're going.
Explain that.
There's a number of answers to that, brother.
Explain that one, man.
There's a number of answers. To that.
Like you like what the.
There's a number of answers to that. Here's the one that's most common. It's the same or is similar type of energy focus that causes poltergeist activity. Okay, you know what poltergeist activity is, right?
What is that? No, I was about to ask. What?
Yeah, you're in your home and all of a sudden something goes woo, and you're like, what the?
Okay, yeah.
Right? Books start falling off the bookshelf, chairs start sliding, this type of stuff. That's poltergeist activity.
Right.
People are thinking, it's ghosts. No, partially.
Yeah.
Psychologists and scientists have studied poltergeist activity over the years, and one of the things that they found, and follow me, people, they found that it occurs most frequently around teenagers going through puberty. Why? Here we go. One of my students, Kung Fu students, he was a Mormon, raised a Mormon. He just told me this just yesterday, right? He was training, doing Kung Fu in this area that by his house in between two old graveyards, right? As he's training, his energy's up, that's yang energy. Discarnate entities, in other words, people out of the body, are yin entities.
Didn't know that.
You bring enough yang energy, it allows the yin entity to come to do things that can affect the human perception. So he's training, his energy's up. All of a sudden, he hears somebody say, "Hi, how are you?" Freaked him out so bad he left everything. Was out. He's no longer a Mormon. He's no longer a Mormon. He just told me this just a couple of days ago.
Whoa.
Right? But see, certain other cultures have the science, the philosophy, the expanded perception and narrative to explain it scientifically. I just did that, right? So what happens in cases like that, your keys. So I know I just had, you feel the frustration, the energy getting up, and then you get to a particular point of intensity of the energy that sometimes it summons the actual thing to materialize. It happens. Or there's entities around you that are outside of your scope of vision. In other words, outside of ultraviolet and infrared, that give you some assistance because your energy's strong enough to where they have enough yang energy they can use to cause something to move.
Man.
Think about ritual work, real ritual work, let's say in Central America, in Haiti, whatever. You have to have, you have the veves and everything drawn out. Those are circuit boards. You have to have the energy now. And the energy comes from the drums and the dancing and the song. That's science, people.
Yeah.
And you raise the energy up to a certain frequency, and that you reach a breaking point, and now you have a super physical state.
You know that's what we're doing in Egypt. We come with the music.
Oh, come on, bro. That's the
I'm serious.
That's the listen, bro. That's the on switch for the rejuvenation chambers.
Oh, you heard it from him? I told Billy that. I played the video. Y'all remember what I said? Yeah. Yo, Sharif just, I'm getting so hyped. I was about to say, this nigga just said, yo, listen, family, we're going to turn on the pyramids. Yeah. I played a video, Sharif, with Kanye. He got the Sunday service choir, and they going in, gospel music and all, and they going in, they were singing, however do you want it? However do you need it? And they did. Oh, you seen it? Okay, yeah. Listen, man. We going there with the music. When I get on the plane, I'm gonna bring a piano with me, brother. Kambala's coming with us. He's gonna. We're gonna have It's a all white dinner party, right? Cambada's gonna perform King of the Jungle there, man. It's gonna be, oh my god, oh my god. We're going to listen. Sharif is gonna be there. We're going to turn on and activate the pyramids.
Be careful.
I'm gonna say this again. We're going to turn on and activate the pyramids.
You're among other things, like if you're in the king's chamber, this is already well known. You're sitting in a resonance chamber, people. What does that tell you? All you need is the right resonance pitch.
Yeah.
And what is song? Sound? Song? What is it? It is audible mathematics. See? Again, even to wrap your mind, even to conceive of that idea, you have to be thinking outside of the current narrative. Like in the More Science of America, we sing songs. People say, man, that's that church stuff. No, it's not. It's technology.
It's technology. Yes, sir.
Tech. It's tech. You don't say it's church when the Haitian grandmother in the woods is doing it. See?
And that real quick, Sharif, that goes into an inferiority complex we have of ourselves, where our most powerful technology, we don't look at it as a technology, and we let other people tell us, like, say if we start singing, people will say, oh, them niggas is always singing, and we start to feel bad that we're naturally a musical people, and we start.
So what are we doing? What are we doing? We are sticking the needle in our own brain.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
We
don't recognize what's ours. If we don't even recognize what's ours, that's not even counting the fact of the value of it. But there's whole secret orders. I told you about one in particular, right? As a matter of fact, I think the very first presentation I did on your show about the Atlanteans, right?
Yeah.
And there's an order here that moved. The head of the order moved from Haiti to the south side of Chicago in 1966.
You told me.
Right. And he said the purpose of the order was to broadcast into the higher dimensions, because the souls, reincarnating souls of the ancient Atlantean priesthood are now reincarnating in America in bodies of African and mixed European African descent. That's what he said. And he's straight European. He's straight. He says, listen, the gods I worship look like you, Brother Sharif. That's what he says. You see, he's still around. And the occult world considers him the greatest living magus of our time.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the South Side. He's in Hyde Park, Chicago. Right. He's got, yeah. He's in Hyde Park, Chicago. And know what else he said? Listen, he said this, bro. Matter of fact, you have one of his books, the Voodoo Gnostic Workbook.
Oh, that's him.
Yes.
Damn.
Guess what he said? Guess one of the things he says in that book.
What?
That ancient Atlantean technology is preserved in America in many places, and one of the main places in the Holiness Church of the African American.
What the fuck, yo? Where you? Oh, come on, man.
You know what Prophet Noble Drew Ali
said?
He said, some of my best Moors are still in the church. That's what he said.
You be having these quotes, man, from the. He said what is in the church? Yes. He said what is in the African American church? Now say that again. Say that part.
He said the Holiness Church is like Holy Ghost and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Right? He said that they're the repositories, and they still, but it's veiled. He said, but they're carrying ancient Atlantean technology. What's he talking about? He's talking about the methods of ritual that bring your consciousness to a super physical state or a high energy state.
Right. High energy state. Right.
That's technology.
That's technology.
What does it? Song. What else? Dance. See?
Damn.
Yeah, it's technology. But we're taught that that's nonsense. Yeah. We're taught that's Negro stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's get to, man. I mean, what a presentation, right, y'all? Oh man. Wow, what a talk. And Family, do y'all understand how important we are? We're gonna turn on. We got the on switch.
Real talk.
We got for the pyramid. We gonna turn on the pyramids, family.
Yeah.
Man. I'm serious, Sharif.
I know.
Man. Listen. So I'll talk more about it. I'm gonna talk more about it because I'm telling the people I ain't even got tickets available. I know the people like, man, stop talking about it. Give us a damn. I'm waiting for Billy to get back to me, y'all. He called me the next day and we talked. He asked me about how many days I wanted it to be, and he was just asking me, exactly how did I want it to be, and I talked to him about that. So he's gonna get back to me. He's gonna talk to his peoples over there and get back to me or whatever.
Beautiful.
So
he's in good spirits, man. When we spent time together, man, good spirits.
Yeah.
Oh, stay tuned for what we put together. Dope conversation, and we're gonna do like parts 2, 3, a bunch of stuff. We talked about that West Huff thing too.
I could imagine.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Now, if you all are paying attention, I'm talking to the viewers. If you've been paying attention, there's been a number of European scholars that stood up publicly and backed our brother Billy Carson. And this is what they said. They said, oh, Billy Carson was right. The only difference was that Billy Carson's not a trained theologian. Wes Huff is a trained theologian. The very things that Wes Huff tried to accuse our brother Billy Carson of, Wes Huff was guilty of using faulty sources. He's what people call a Christian apologist. That's what he is. People who use, they work to defend the Christian doctrine. We talked about it briefly in the conversation on the show that we just did. Y'all will see it.
Yeah, can't wait to see that. Family, give me a couple. I'm gonna take about two questions, probably 2 questions. Then we're gonna get out of here. Give me some questions, family. Give me a couple of questions for the brother Sharif. We got about 2,200 people in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let me see. Shout out to those who sent the super chat, Miss April and Brandon.
Beautiful.
Okay. Let me ask it. And Judy K. King book, The ISIS Thesis, she said the pyramids were machines to recycle and reconfigure bacteria into a human. Any correlation?
Oh, listen, I wouldn't doubt it, but yes, there's a definite. I mean, the answer is simply yes, there's a correlation, right? There is. So follow me. We've already demonstrated that, the ability via the copper mysteries, right, which is real science, for human regeneration. We've already demonstrated it, right? Or we've already talked about it. And that the pyramids themselves were, why do you, okay, what are the pyramid texts called? Or what are the pyramid texts found? They were found what? Within the writings collectively called the Coming Forth by Day. In the West, they're called the Book of the Dead. And they said, oh, this is what you read during the funeral rites. Who said there were funeral rites? Who said there were funeral rituals? What if they're detailed technical descriptions of human regeneration? See? There you go. So yes, Brandon Sanders, I would agree. Now, would I agree specifically with Judy K. King's theory or thesis? I don't know if I would say that because I have to read the material. I haven't read it. So reconfigure bacteria. I would say, well, look, let's just look at it like this. There are European scientists that are openly coming out now saying that they can take a skin cell from you and regenerate a whole you. That science is here. We already know that. So why not?
Okay.
Why not? Absolutely.
All right, let's get to the next question. Sharif, do you have any experience with the Rife machine?
Yes. So now you're talking about not necessarily scalar tech, but vibratory technology, right? Just for the rest of the viewers, Divine Unique, for the rest of the viewers, Rife technology is old, but it's suppressed. just like electroculture is old, but it's suppressed. There's a reason why it's suppressed. For the very same reason that Nikola Tesla's funding got pulled by J.P. Morgan. For the very same reason that Dr. Becker wrote the book of The Body Electric, his funding got pulled after he did a particular interview, which you could find on YouTube, the actual interview that got him defunded. So, yeah, I have experience with Rife machine technology. Yes, I do.
All right. Is it true the first thing they took from black people was their music?
All right. Let's unpack the wording in the question. Okay. Quote unquote, black people are not monolithic. Okay. And I'm not presuming that you think they are, dear, King Buddha, right? I'm not presuming that you think they are. I just want to say that for everybody. We're not monolithic, right? We are the original people, and the biodiversity amongst us alone is staggering, right? So I'd like for us to get away from thinking of ourselves as monolithic and thinking of the alleged ops as they, because that's spookism. They. Who's the they? Because some of the they are us. You see what I'm saying? We have to tell the truth, even when it hurts us, right? So it's not so much as music, and I know where you're going with this. It's when let's take a particular point in time, and I think I may be zeroing right in on what you're thinking, right? I'm practicing the Radiohead technology, brother. So let's take South America, Brazil. Slaves, and I put that in quotes, are on the plantation and they're playing music, right? Then a couple revolts happen. And the revolts are very, very scientifically organized and arranged and timed and executed. After it happens a couple times, what do you think the European slave masters start to figure out? Oh, that ain't just music. Oh, that's communication. Oh, wow, these guys, yeah, that music's out of here. Was it really the music? You see my point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let's get to I saved one of these.
Yo, real quick. Somebody in the chat, Ben Frank, he put hip hop. Actual fact, bro. Actual fact. Ties directly into what I just said. Why it's so important for the status quo to have a sexy red.
Get to this next question. Why do lights turn off when I play the Quran in my house?
Interesting. I'd be interested to know. Who is this? Al-Sir. Interesting name. I like that name. I'd be interested to know what you're exactly playing. When you know what I mean by what? In other words, who's doing the recitation? I'll give an example. Y'all repeat after me. God is good. What do people say?
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
Now, what if you knew in your heart and were fully convicted in the fact that man is God? Those words have a different vibration. And they have a different effect on the people you say it to, don't they?
Right.
That's why that's important, dear brother. Anybody can recite words, but what's the energy on the vibration? Right? Okay. And now that being said, I want to see, because I already see what you may be dealing with just from your name. So let me say this for the rest of the viewers. The Quran in Arabic is meant to, when it's recited, it's sung. All right.
Deep.
It's sung.
Deep. I want to
Yeah, I'm talking about that later. Somebody says now somebody said something about Bob Marley, and I'm gonna use another show to talk about Bob Marley.
Oh man,
I'm gonna use
that's so deep.
yeah, I'm gonna use another show, and we're gonna have we need to have like a
Same thing with Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
When he starts talking about, oh, no, I'm researching and exploring using music as medicine. Come on now. They were like, yeah, none of that. No, okay, to that point, follow me. Nowadays, because of the, nowadays with a lot of the top secret programs and projects and special access projects, if you're talking about anti-gravity, stuff like that, there's a lot of people that are talking about that. I can go right back to this bookshelf behind me right now and pull out detailed plans and patents of anti-gravity and free energy stuff. I can do that. That's no problem. Now, building it is something else. You play around and build it. The moment you plug it in, you get a knock at the door. That's real talk. Okay? Now, you know what's more dangerous than talking about free energy and anti-gravity? Any of this stuff that affects the medical industry. You start talking about that, you get unalived. Wow. Damn. That's that.
Hey, we already know what that's about. I ain't gonna elaborate on that right there. We're gonna get to, I think this is going to we're gonna do 2 questions in the super. No, all right, this brother. No, we're gonna. All right, let me ask this.
Yes.
What's his thoughts on the temples in India being 3D printed and using cymatic distribution of energy and frequency?
Of course, people. Of course. That's certain things like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, right? The narrative on us. It's just like the song that you first hear on the radio and you're like, man, that song sucks. But after 2 weeks of hearing it 4 times a day, you start to see narrative control. See that? Narrative control. It's been hammered in our head so hard that we even doubt the evidence of our own senses. So my answer to your question, Lamar Harmon, is of course that's what's used. We make, okay, let's call it somatic distribution, where some type of energy source, right, on a flat surface of hard granite goes and carves out a whole temple.
Damn.
Of course, you know what you're looking at. But the narrative that you've grown up with tells you, no, it's impossible. It's impossible. People couldn't do that with stone tools back then. See? See? Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. So to close the show, Sharif, last question from New Diamonds.
Shout out to New Diamonds.
Indeed. With all external technology being discovered, would love your perspective on what is happening to our inner technology.
Inner technology is the technology. Period. All external things, people, are shadows of the higher reality. The higher reality is always intangible. Always. Like we said earlier, what would you rather have? A pyramid or the mind that created it? See, the mind that created it can not only make another one, but could do something even greater than the pyramid. Right? So external, anything and everything external is just a shadow. It's a result. It's an effect. Cause is the thing to pay attention to. Man is a living soul. Man is spirit. Man is immortal. Start to focus on that. See? So we need to... We're so much in a fallen state, not just us, but humanity in general, that we think that we're this. We have to start to change this. The founder of the More Science to America, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, said, if I get you to think, you could save yourselves. The problem with that is that we think just because we got thoughts in here that we're the one doing the thinking. Nah, if we're under another narrative, somebody else has been thinking for us.
Yo, Sharif, let me ask you this before you get out of here.
Sure.
Why, I see Billy, everybody do, a lot of people, not everybody, but I've seen a lot of tours to Kemet, Billy Carson being one of them. I remember back in the day, Ashwa Kwesi used to make.
Yes.
tours, and you see a lot of these brothers make tours, and you see the white folks go over there. People of all races and nationalities make these tours to Egypt, and you see all types of symbols over there.
Yes.
One of the oldest symbols and one of the most used symbols on the planet is what we know as the swastika. Why I never see nobody in Egypt come back with a picture of a swastika in ancient Kemet? I know it got to be there somewhere.
Oh, it is there.
So why nobody never comes back with a picture of it from Kemet?
That's a good question. We should talk to Billy about that and other people. But it's there. It's there. As a matter of fact, it's there. Remember, I mentioned the French guy in the Mayan territory, Augustus Le Plongeon, right? And he wrote the book Origin of the Egyptians, for instance. I'm going to show you. I'm going to send it to you when we get off camera, bro. There's a video showing actual proof. It's not evidence, circumstantial evidence. Proof. Proof of ancient Mexica people, not Aztec. Mexica people that look like you and I in Egypt, in a pyramid. There's an actual Mayan or Mexica, what they would call Aztec record, inside one of the pyramids on one of the ceilings in ancient Egypt. And the ancient Mayans are like, oh, we know exactly what that is. We can tell you what it is, the whole nine. I'm going to shoot you the video.
Please do, yeah.
You see, but that said, back to what you said about the swastika, we call it the swastika. That thing was all over the world, people. What does it represent? Here's what it represents. Ready? It represents out of oneness. Oneness is undifferentiated reality. You cannot perceive it because your senses need duality to perceive. Okay?
Right.
Out of oneness comes motion. Motion creates duality. Then motion splits itself. Right? You have what we call in ancient religion, true religion, the four corners of reality, the four corners of the world. Those four corners have four temperaments: hot, cold, dry, wet. They become the four ancient elements: earth, air, water, fire. And they move, they rotate. That is the science behind the symbol of the swastika. It is the rotating cross. There you go.
So somebody said the fifth element at the center.
Ether.
That's the ether, yeah. That's the ether. Yep. Powerful. Yeah, he did it again, y'all. Did it again. What an amazing show, amazing presentation. We made some musical breakthroughs today. It's an amazing show. Sharif, tell the people your contact info, how they could get in touch with you.
Yes.
Do you still have the monatomic gold for sale? Let them know all of that. Okay.
Still, people, still got shipments. There's a hit me up. Find me on Instagram under Sharif Bey. Find me on Facebook, Sharif Anayil Bey. Find me on TikTok, Sifu Sharif. As many of you already know, I'm personable. You can reach me. I'm not out of reach.
You know what? I come to the conclusion real quick before we get out of here, Sharif.
Yes, sir.
Because I was reading. Damn it. You ever heard of Saint Germain?
Of course.
Okay. did I ever talk to you about Saint Germain before, or was that? I think that was Rod Hayes. I talked to her.
There's a whole order called the Order of Saint Germain, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know that they have this very secret book. It's a triangle book.
So, all right. You know how they hijack our shit, Sharif?
Yeah.
They always show. They say this is Saint Germain.
Yeah, those pictures were made by a European woman by the name of Elizabeth Clare Prophet. We know who she is.
They say this character. Wait, where's it at? This character, right? Where's my point? Right here is Saint Germain, the purple one.
Yep.
Who was Saint Germain for real? Because we know they hijack everything. Jesus, Buddha. I mean, anything you name it.
So
swastika. I mean, you name it, they hijack it.
So Saint Germain, right? Mysterious individual. Okay, on purpose. A lot of these type people were mysterious on purpose. One of the reasons they were mysterious on purpose, which was a mistake, which was a thing that was not adhered to by our brother Pascal Beverly Randolph. Follow me.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why these people are very mysterious is because they're trying to advance humanity by advancing our thinking. The current status quo is called evil because it's trying to stop you from thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? Yeah, they're involved with high-level esoteric knowledge, but that directly impacts social politics.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts the powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
So while they may be very powerful, they can still get arrested and get shot. So they're mysterious on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They're mysterious on purpose for their protection.
Right. Okay.
For their protection.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Now, on the higher level, these type of individuals, right? People call them ascended masters. People call them secret masters. What are they really being described as? Here we go. Human beings, real human beings, that have escaped the cycle of reincarnation and therefore come back fully conscious of previous lives, come back because they want to come back, not because they need to. See? That was Gautama Buddha. That was Confucius. That was the historical Jesus. That was Prophet Muhammad. You see? Yeah. Anytime there's an avatar in humanity that's guiding human thought to the next stage, it's kind of what you're looking at. And here's the other part, though. They only look like they're by themselves. They're never by themselves. There's a whole team behind them.
So what I was gonna say real quick is that reading the Saint Germain stuff, and I'm glad just because put this in the chat. He talked about the purple flame. He talks about all the imagining light surrounding your body. And I thought to myself, I say, you know what, Sharif? When we talk about imagination,
sounds like Qigong.
Sharif, check this out. I use my imagination in terms of manifesting things into my life. But I don't get wild with it. I need to really step my imagination game up. Like people be imagining fire coming out their hand. I need to get on that shit. And I said to myself, am I really using my imagination?
No.
Motherfuckers is imagining fire coming out their eyes and their heads and white light. I need to step my imagination game up. And I promise myself that I am going to step my imagination.
Next time I'm on, we should have done it. I think we may have done it. We've done a couple of exercises, but next time I'm on, let's do an exercise for the whole audience. The whole audience does it. And it's literally, a big part of what you're talking about is a part of our special Qigong methods, right? Intent, the will, belief. Intent leads the energy. But when we hear that in the West, the intent leads the energy, our focus is still on the energy. Wrong. Our focus should be on the intent. You see? What do we mean by the intent? We can train to make the intent dense and strong, just like a muscle. That's why when you're at that point where you're like, oh, I can't find my keys, and they just, oh my God.
Right.
Because you raise the vibration to a critical point. But what if you practice that every day?
Yeah, we still gotta figure out what we're gonna do about this Qigong master class.
Let me know, bro.
So much going on. We gotta figure that out. I gotta figure out
let me know.
Yeah, I gotta figure it out. A couple of y'all expressed told me y'all was interested. So
yes,
I'm gonna figure it out for y'all too, because that's gonna be powerful. This master class from brother Sharif coming down to Atlanta. Absolutely. And putting a masterclass together. So stay tuned for that, family. But listen, Brother Rich got to get out of here. Shout out to all 2,000 of y'all. Shout out to King Simon in the chat. He's sharing Sharif links.
Salute to King Simon. That's my brother.
everybody else in the chat. Sharif, thank you, my brother. I'm gonna call you tomorrow so we could set up the show for next week with the Native American brother. And yeah, I want to chop.
His name is Randy Vietenheimer. That's my guy.
Okay, Randy Vietenheimer. Okay, excellent. And
he's been on Gaia numerous times.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Okay, cool.
Matter of fact, Billy Carson has him in his documentary.
Oh my, wow. Okay, excellent.
You know Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So with that being said, Sharif, I'm gonna holler at you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Family, I'm gonna see all of you tomorrow. Have a good night, family. Peace.
Peace.